Hello, it is July 26th and it is 6:23 p.m. So today, right now, I'm going to talk about Junaid, mainly due to the fact that the cycle has restarted again. Junaid at first was trying to make exaggerations and testimonies against me, that saying that when I was a child, one of law enforcement's own BFFs, like Uncle Joey, might have said something considered even remotely bad around me as a child, due to which my brain savant should get locked up. Now, the thing about that argument is the fact that Junaid is claiming basically that either I'm a bad person or I have a high potential of being a bad person in the future. But at the same time, now that Junaid sees that locking up my brain savant is not the best course to take in order to have sex with the girls and to be able to chase the girls that were coming after me, that Junaid had absolutely nothing to do with, that Junaid got the phone number and contact info from law enforcement enviously, only to be able to run after these girls that Junaid never knew in his entire life, only due to extreme envy that these girls like me due to my brain savant. Now that Junaid has seen that running after these girls is nonsensical, it doesn't make any sense doing so, since these girls are continuously rejecting him over and over again and threatening to call the police on him. Girls that he never knew his entire life, only got extremely envious at people in my life like me, due to which he started to stalk these girls through law enforcement after getting their number through law enforcement, making up stories about him being a CEO. And now that the story's been caught up to be complete and total lie, due to Junaid working the same job as my sister, earning the same amount of money, the only difference being that he is getting an early retirement, which even he's struggling to get right now. Junaid now, due to his sex addiction, has no other option, which is not, the option isn't anymore of locking up my brain savant, since locking up my brain savant wouldn't make any difference. The girls are not talking to him anyway. So now Junaid is basically begging me all day, night long, through law enforcement. He would first get rejected by the girls. So today's July 26th. I made a video this morning at around 7 a.m. showing the world exactly why I knew that Junaid had just gotten rejected again this morning. They were too humiliated to go past my road, and one of the people who went past my road in the truck, you could see his facial expression. The words humiliation and rejection are written all over him. Basically, when one of these people get rejected like Junaid very brutally and has the police threaten on him, then all of their faces show. Because their faces show, they just don't show their face near my house, near my road. They just don't go by it. If you look at that video from this morning around 7 a.m., look at the facial expressions for the person driving the truck. You could just tell by looking at his face that this guy was going by my road by force, because he knew that I was making a video of it. And he also knew that one of these people had just gotten rejected by one of the girls that were coming after me. Basically, Junaid had. And so his facial expressions will tell you in that video that he knew for a fact he was going by my road due to force, but it was incredibly like he was in state of anger, shock, and hatred. You can see it in the truck driver's face. It was like a black truck that went by my road. They basically told him by force to go by my road because I was making a video of my road again and how they avoid it. If there was no one that went by my road, you could have said that, oh, it's just Sunday morning and there was no one there. But since one of the people were told to go by my road by force, only so that there wouldn't be no people going by my roads, and that would look extremely bad for them. Since one of the people were told to go by my road by force, clearly shows from facts and evidences that this is exactly why they do not go by my road. It's due to extreme humiliation from the rejection of having the police threaten on them, mainly Junaid, by one of the girls, due to which none of these people go by my road. Due to which, when law enforcement saw that I was making a video of my road being completely clear, they got one of their BFFs and told him, you have to go by his road. You have to go do it right now, because he's making a video right now. You could tell by that. If you watch the black truck go by, you can tell from his facial expressions that he's been forced to go by my road, being told that I'm making a video, and so he has to go by my road to ruin the theory that I was making, that they don't go by my road every time they get rejected due to extreme humiliation. And the fact that he went by my road and the facts and evidence will show that he was forced to go by my road to try to disprove my theory clearly proves that this is exactly what they do. They avoid my road at all costs. And in the morning when I was making this video, they told the black truck driver, it was like a black truck, that they forced the person saying, "You're my BFF, you have to go by his road because he's making a video right now, and if you don't go by his road, it's going to make us look extremely humiliated on video." But if you look at his facial expressions, the black truck from this morning, you can tell that he was forced to go by my road. It was incredibly humiliated. His facial expressions look from the rejection that Junaid had to face this morning, July 26th, around 7 a.m. by one of the girls. And it just makes me wonder who gets rejected on a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Anyways, it's just like, hey, Sunday morning, I just want to know, can I sleep with you? You know, who does that? Even John Bon Jovi wouldn't do that. I always bring him up. Like, I always kind of thought of him as being like complete and total player. Like, I have no clue why. Anyways, so basically I was making a video, Junaid, today, right now, mainly due to the fact that looking outside on my road literally lets me know that these people are getting rejected. And the best thing that law enforcement basically did for me this morning was they got one of their people to forced him to go by my road just to disprove my theory. But if you look at facts and evidences, you will know that he was forced to go by my road, the black truck, from 7 a.m. this morning, and that you could tell from his face that he was incredibly humiliated from knowing that their BFF Junaid was getting rejected. Basically, law enforcement giving people's contact info, girls, to people like Junaid, who's not a CEO, does the exact same job my sister does, gets paid the exact same amount, and he was basically about to get early retirement on pretty much every year after not being able to get along with people at his work. And this year it's pretty much confirmed. And so this morning when I saw that outside in the balcony, I kind of knew for a fact that he had just got rejected. Sunday morning, July 26th at around 7 a.m. I knew he had just got rejected. But yeah, thankfully they got one person to go by force, thereby proving my theory that this is exactly what happens. And if you look at facts and evidences, you will know that the black truck that went by my road, it was the person's face was extremely humiliated. You could tell that he was forced to go, and the facts and evidences will also show that law enforcement told him to basically go by my road. Excuse me. So basically, yeah. So same cycle again. Junaid is threatening me today, right now, 4:43 p.m. today, okay? Jiffy Lube, basically saying, we're going to take oil out of your car since you didn't help us scam these girls. Now, the thing about it is just the fact that, you know, it's just the fact that, yeah, he had been begging me every single day to help him scam these girls that are vulnerable, sitting at home alone without their parents, and he basically wants me to go and scam them, sleep with them, and then pass them around to everyone. Something I would never do, and not a very autistic thing to do, basically. Other autistic people would be offended that Junaid was actually trying to do this. Now, the other thing is, he's been doing this almost pretty much every single day. So this is July 24th. He's supposed to be the Punisher, and I'm Spider-Man with my powers. He wants me to help him scam these girls. Same thing, July 24th, 8:05 p.m. and it's a Toyota commercial, RAV4 commercial, two brown people riding together. And then it is July 23rd, 3:10 p.m. Okay, and it is the same Chevrolet commercial. It says, "Let's ride together." Okay. And then, so this is what happened today. So today, he was going after one of the girls. I guess he wanted to go after one of the girls. Her last name is Anderson, from my high school. He never met her. He found out about her wanting me, and he got extremely envious. Then he tried to run after her. He got rejected, had the police threaten on him, and then now he wants my help, which I would never do. I would never do that. And I feel really angry that he's trying to do this, since I think of her as being like a little sister to me. It makes me pretty angry that this sex addict is running after her. He should be worrying about his job and all those credit card loans that he's got that I don't think my sister is going to want to pay for after he loses his job again. And he probably already did. Probably either got laid off or fired or something like that, like how it happens every year. And yeah, and he already has huge amounts of credit card loans that I do not want my sister paying off for him, you know? Well, anyways, today at 1:09 p.m. Chevrolet Let's Light Together. Now, before this commercial today, there was, this is 2 minutes afterwards. It says Anderson Adventures, but basically it was another Anderson Adventures ad. It was like a theme park, and they basically were saying, let's ride together. You go scam this girl. Her last name is Anderson. She went to your high school, and then you're going to pass her around to Jeanette, which I will never do. She's like my little sister. I love her like crazy, okay? The sex addict needs some serious help. You know, they have things now for like sex addicts that they could actually go and get themselves treated. There are medications out there for people like that. Like, seriously, get some help. I would never do that to her. I love her like crazy. Yeah. She's like my little sister, basically. This guy, he's a psycho and he needs some serious help. Basically, what happened was Jeanette was trying to enviously lock up my brain savant, thinking that he could get law enforcement to run after these girls, scam them, keep sleeping with them, and make up his stories about being a CEO. Even the thing about him wearing glasses, basically, yeah, at one time, I remember last year they started this thing where they all started wearing glasses, and at that time they didn't know that things could leak from law enforcement to these people. So they started advertising on web pages to start wearing glasses, and then they started wearing it, clearly showing from last year that this was basically part of their scam. They realized that the girls liked me due to my brain savant. The girls were told that I stared into textbooks for 4 years, from morning till night. From morning till night for between October 2019 and July 1st, 2023, and that this had evolved from me staring into the History Channel logo as a 9-year-old child, which was tested and proven on July 20th, 2026. And since I like staring into textbooks due to being autistic, they all planned out together that they're all going to start to wear glasses together. It happened last year, and before they actually did this, they started advertising wearing glasses on my web pages all day long. What they didn't know was things were actually leaking out from law enforcement, and one of the girls basically went and told the other girls from one of the girls from law enforcement basically went out and told the other girls that this zero power glasses wearing thing is like a planned event that all these guys are basically doing to try to act like they're either autistic or like one of those nerds that like staring into textbooks, only to try to mimic me, even though I don't wear glasses when I stare into textbooks. And the same Anderson person from my high school will tell you that they used to call me the History Channel in high school, not only due to my obsession with knights, but also my obsession with history due to the fact that I was autistic and I liked staring at the History Channel logo as a child, which everyone knew about. Pretty much I was a loser, I'm not gonna lie. Not the most popular kid in high school, but yeah. I was autistic, and that's how it was. Later on, that obsession of mine, History Channel logo, as a child, it evolved over time and giving me special powers when I would stare into textbooks, and that's when law enforcement started becoming obsessive over me and wanting to lock up my brain savant, making sure it couldn't perform out in the open, making sure that no one could find out about it. So on August 9, 2022, when they had to lower the air jogging for 6 hours, obviously they were hitting my foot with energy weapon tools to make sure that I would be discouraged from staring at the textbook, but I studied for the entire 6 hours, giving us the best piece of data there is for my autistic brain savant from August 9, 2022. For 6 hours of data is undeniable. Either the computer lied for me for 6 hours, or I am an autistic brain savant who is a triple brain savant. One or the other. You could think of your own solution. What do you think? Am I lying, or me and the computer working on this together to lie and try to scam the entire world? Or maybe we're telling the truth, both me and artificial intelligence are not as big of BFFs as you might think. And nor am I psychic enough to know what the artificial intelligence report says about my brain savant either. So basically, what ended up happening is today is July 26th. Like every single day, Jeanette got rejected this morning around 7 o'clock, and there was no cars in my outside road. That everyone just disappeared, and the one black truck that went by my road, you could look at the facial expressions from that person, and you will know for a fact that this person was forced to go by my road thereby proving my theory that the only reason they would force someone to go by my road is, and with his face looking humiliated like he did not want to go by there, is the fact that law enforcement basically forced him to go by my road to try to disprove my theory and try to make me think that this theory is not correct and right. If you look at facts and evidences, you will clearly show that law enforcement texted him and forced him to basically go by my road. So basically, yeah, same cycle again today. Junaid got rejected by the girls. Then he basically first asked me if I was willing to help him scam a girl, last name Anderson, into sleeping with me and then passing her around. She's like my little sister. I would never do that to her. You sick freak. Get the heck off of her, is all I'd like to say to Junaid. Okay, so today obviously is July 26th and Junaid will not be calling the court. Instead, he'll be having his sisters do that since he'd be too embarrassed and humiliated from having the police threaten on him again today, this morning around 7 a.m. Yeah. So basically, before this journal even starts, it has to be made clear that Junaid is getting rejected by the girls that he was desperately trying to run after, only due to extreme envy, due to which he went into a state of extreme anger again today and threatened to take out oil out of my car again today with the same Jiffy Lube ad on July 26th at 4:43 p.m. So basically, Junaid has used this ad numerous times to threaten to take oil out of my car, so it's a given. It's a known fact that this is what this ad means, and this is what this ad is basically used for. Okay? Only out of extreme anger that Junaid was unable to socialize with and have sex with these girls who were running after me. Junaid was unable to lock up my brain savant using exaggerations against me, and due to anger that I refused to help Junaid scam these girls despite seeing how he was rejected by these girls again today, July 26, 2026. You have to look at the video from 7 o'clock this morning where I showed the outside lane and I was talking the entire time. And yet, I still refuse to scam vulnerable girls living alone who would hear the court chatter on my brain savant for me to then use that to my advantage to scam these vulnerable girls. So basically, what Junaid wants me to do is, since he's getting rejected by these girls who are vulnerable due to them living alone without their parents would find out that I am Kim Peek Rain Man due to court chatter and expert testimony given to the judges by artificial intelligence experts talking about my brain scan and my brain savant being a triple savant encompassing instantaneous photographic memory, focusing, and innovation, and that my brain savant powers increase over time as well, and that these girls who are living alone will be vulnerable, would be talking to law enforcement, and law enforcement will basically give them my contact info, and I would go scam someone else's daughter into sleeping with me, use her up, and run out of the restaurant after eating the food without even paying for it, not getting married to her, doing anything of that sort of nature. Absolutely wrong, immoral, and I would not want that done to my daughter. Definitely not anyone else's daughter. And stay the heck away from people that I know. Some people I love a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Like Anderson is like my little sister. You sick freak. Get the heck away from her. I am not joking. So for sex, and then spread them around to people like Junaid, the sex addict, afterwards. Yeah, right. In the year 2024, Junaid was calling people that only knew me in my life and telling them that he had plenty of friends while I had none, only to try and impress them while changing his personality completely, speaking with a low-toned, soft voice, and only to try and run after them. So basically, he changes up his entire personality, which is one of the reasons people don't like him. He wears a black sweater instead of blue, the glasses. Law enforcement basically tell people themselves that this was a planned event where they all got together and they decided to wear zero-power glasses or something close to it, like a bunch of douchebags, and then they would wear it around everywhere to try to impress girls and tell them that they like staring at the textbooks on their free time. Even though I don't wear glasses, I only wear it while I'm driving or watching TV, and never while I'm studying or doing anything of that sort of nature. Yeah. So recently, that entire speech of being incredibly social became a nuisance for Junaid when he realized that people were liking me for how I was, and Junaid desperately wanted to run after the girls that were trying to run after me. So basically, in 2024, I was literally starving, and Junaid was calling people and telling them that he was very social, due to which they would put on my YouTube, like Russian government would put on my YouTube thing saying I just wanted to let you know that all of Russia is your friend because they felt bad for me. And yeah, and now Junaid sees that these people like the fact that I'm not that social. And Junaid is pretending to not be social either. It's like, okay, you're just making a fool of yourself because it has nothing to do with anything. These people just want me, like me, because of my brain savant. And yeah, I'm the new Rain Man. I'm not gonna lie. Artificial intelligence will tell you that, and yeah, it's literally not something that I could literally lie about, since artificial intelligence and I are not BFFs, and artificial intelligence is not gonna lie for me, nor am I psychic enough to know what the report says. Plus, with all the tests that were done, with the most recent one being overanalyzed from June 24th, we know for a fact that I'm telling the truth. Yes, I am the new Rain Man. Kim Peek was the old one, I'm the new one. Yeah, I used to always hate my lips and how they look like, and now I totally love it. Because me and Kim Peek both have these lips in common, these big fat lips, and yeah, wide mouths, and now I love this fact because it reminds me of my autism and the fact that I replaced Kim Peek as the new Rain Man, and I'm really happy about that. Well, anyways, after finding out about my brain savant with these being girls that Junaid never knew his entire life, were only people I knew in my life from either high school, elementary school, or elsewhere, but Junaid still getting their contact info and trying to run after them due to extreme envy of them liking me while getting continuously rejected almost every single day for the past few months after his fake CEO story has been found out by everyone as being completely made up and a fraud. Basically, what happened was Junaid made up a story about him being a CEO to impress the girls, to try to first run after them after he got the number from them enviously from law enforcement. And despite like him working the same job as my sister, earning the same amount of money, he making up stories about being the CEO, and even though he was losing his job literally every single year. And almost being close to getting an early retirement almost every year. So basically what ended up happening was, yeah, he was trying to scam all these girls by telling them all these stories about himself being a CEO, till someone in law enforcement told the girls the real truth. At which time, Junaid got really scared that he's going to lose these girls and that they will stop sleeping with him, due to which he quickly calls the girls and tells them everything. He says, I'm not the CEO, I do the same job my sister does, earns the exact same amount of money. The only difference is he gets into fights and arguments with people at his work every single day, and due to which he thinks he's going to lose his job again this year, and that he's been trying to get an early retirement so that he doesn't even have to work anymore every single year, and that this year it should be final, that he's getting an early retirement. Yeah. Tells the girls everything, just to try to tell his story before the person who told the girls that his CEO story was a complete and total lie and fraud would go and tell the girls he says it himself. So now if he's getting rejected by them, don't blame me. They know the truth because it came out of your mouth and not mine. I don't know who a lot of these girls are, by the way. Law enforcement is helping Junaid scam them. This morning, 7 a.m. being one of the times only. Like, it happens literally every day. I show the outside of my, the street outside every single day. So yeah, even this morning on July 26, 2026, Junaid has gotten rejected by one of the girls. Once again, a girl that Junaid never knew his entire life and only got the contact info for through law enforcement, only to try and run after her after making up false CEO stories about himself, despite working the same job as my sister, or in the same amount, except trying to get an early retirement every year due to never being able to get along with people at his workplace, and keep his job in any year that he worked in the past. After giving up after all the girls from my life, and I repeat, all these girls and women from my life found out about him being a fraud and a liar who is a sex addict, and running after girls making up stories about being a CEO and other things of the sort, Junaid has been begging me continuously, nonstop, and almost every single day in the past month through law enforcement, only to try and get me to help him run after these girls. So basically, these girls Junaid does not know. He has no clue who they are. He doesn't know anything about them. Yes, and so he just got really envious that these girls like me. That these girls found out about me. He found through law enforcement about my brain savant, and they wanted to know more about it. Obviously, I can't talk about it till it's freed. So after it gets freed, I can tell people about it. Show them my skills and stuff. But Junaid got really envious. He got their contact info from law enforcement and made up all these stories about him being a CEO and this and that. And then he started running after them. Like the stories were so psychotic. Like he would even law enforcement would even tell the girls things like Hassan found out about Junaid being a CEO and Hassan got really jealous. And then Junaid would call the girls and he'd be like, yeah, I wasn't going to tell him. But now that he found out, I guess I'll have to. Talk about lying. You already made up one lie and then you get law enforcement to make another lie saying that I'm jealous and that I'm feeling really jealous. And then Junaid says, yeah, I wasn't going to tell him, but now that he found out, I guess I'll have to. Talk about making up lies, lies upon lies upon lies. It's just a one story is good enough, really psychotic thing to do to make up more lies within lies and then get law enforcement to go tell people about it. Yeah. Really weird. Only July 23rd, 2026 at 3:10 p.m., Junaid had law enforcement put up the Chevy ad saying, let's ride together. On July 24th, 2026 p.m., 8:05 p.m., Junaid had law enforcement put up the Toyota ad with two brown people riding together. On July 24th, 2026 at 3:18 p.m., Junaid had law enforcement put up the ad for Spider-Man working together with the Punisher. Basically, I'm Spider-Man, I guess he's Punisher. I know I'm Spider-Man because I have these powers, and I guess he's supposed to be Punisher. Law enforcement will tell you that I'm telling the truth on this. To try and beg me to help him went after these girls for my life due to Junaid's sex addiction. Yeah. And then finally on July 26th at 1:09 p.m., Junaid had them put the same Let's Ride Together Chevy ad followed by a girl that I knew from high school who's literally like my sister. It really pisses me off that someone is this much sex addicted and not getting help for themselves. If you're getting the police call on you and getting rejected, maybe you should work on your life and yourself instead of begging people to help you scam other people's daughters. No one wants it for their own sister or their own daughter, but for other people's daughters, they just don't care. Thankfully, someone told the girls about the CEO story being fake and that these people were literally planning out wearing these glasses before they did so. So now they look like a bunch of douches doing this. So this is one of the pictures. I'll show it one more time. It's Spider-Man and the Punisher. Basically, I'm supposed to be helping him out. 8:05 p.m., July 24th. It is the same Toyota ad with two brown people working together. Then it is July 23rd, 3:10 p.m. The same Chevy ad. It says, let's ride together. And then this is today, 1:09 p.m. Okay, Chevy ad says, let's ride together. And then this is supposed to come 2 minutes before the Chevy ad, but since I had missed it, I got some other Anderson Adventures thing and I put it in there. So to give you a perspective of what it really looked like, covering over my screen with the Anderson name. So basically, yes, Junaid has been desperately trying to scam these girls into sleeping with him desperately every day. I'm not going to do this. Obviously, when my brain savant gets freed, I use my powers and I go and get married. No one does these kinds of things with other people's daughters, and it's incredibly embarrassing. You're supposed to do what? Scam the girl and then sleep with her and then not marry her, just run out the door? That's a really weird thing to do. Yeah. And why am I even... Anyways, these immoral actions by Junaid clearly proves to the court from facts and evidences the fact that Junaid was only trying to get my brain savant locked up at any cost using exaggerated and false talking points, with the one talking point of one of law enforcement's own BFFs saying something considered even remotely bad around me as a child when I did not even have the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child yet, and trying to use that against me only to desperately lock up my brain savant due to thinking that his fake CEO story would not get caught and that he would be able to run after these girls if he could lock up my brain savant. So basically, before his fake CEO story got caught, this was his game plan. Lock up my brain savant using exaggerations and talking points from law enforcement. Then after after he's done locking up my brain savant, run after these girls. Now that he's seen that the girls are already rejecting him and they know about his CEO story being completely fake, he wants to use courtroom chatter and basically artificial intelligence experts talking to the judges about my brain savant being extremely rare and profitable, and me being triple savant, to try to scam these girls using me to then have him sleep with them, which is definitely something I would never do to someone else's daughter or sister, since no one wants it done to their own relatives, obviously. Like, this is so weird. Like, you like scam someone's daughter into just sleeping with them, then you just run out, and then that girl is just like, what the heck, I was looking for a husband, I wasn't sexually frustrated. Like, yeah, like, obviously. But these people don't have any morals, or they don't have a conscience. They just want to, like, they only care about their sex addiction, which literally has help, but they don't use it. Well, anyways, now the game plan has changed. Game plan has changed now because the girls already know about the CEO story. So basically, it just revealed to the court that you're a sex addict, and that's why you were doing this, by running after Hassan instead of running after the girls. So run after Hassan, beg him to help you scam the girls into sleeping with you, despite the courts watching this and seeing clearly how guilty this looks, that someone like Junaid is doing this, despite him claiming a day before that the only reason he was arguing against me in court was because he thought I was a bad person, or that I had a high potential of being one in the future. Well, now he is begging that same bad person, me, potentially, supposedly, for helping him scam these girls into having sex with them, clearly showing from facts and evidences that this was all due to sex addiction. The first game plan to basically use the courts to lock up my brain savant so he could run after the girls didn't work out, because the girls found out about the CEO story being fake. So now he wants to use the court chatter that girls are hearing about from artificial intelligence experts telling the judges about my brain savant being a triple savant, extremely rare and profitable in the world, to get me to scam these vulnerable girls living alone without their parents to then sleep with Junaid. That is the new game plan now, even though the new game plan reveals that the old game plan of making exaggerations against me in court to lock up my brain savant was only due to extreme envy and is due to his sex addiction. But he doesn't care about that because he's a sex addict, and the only thing he cares about is getting sex, even if that requires begging me all day night long, and then getting rejected by the girl like a little kid, and then coming and threatening to take oil out of my car again. He's still gonna do it because he's a sex addict. And yeah, even though it shows his proves his motive really clearly. The courts also will see from facts and evidences that I have never met his sisters, Sophia or Sonia, only about 3 or 4 times my entire life, and the fact that that they're even narrating against me in this court is only due to the fact that they thought their brother was John Bon Jovi, and that he could go and become a real cool guy with all these girls, and now he would still beg them to narrate in the trial against me, while at the same time he's begging me to help him scam these girls, clearly showing that he wants both deals. He wants his sisters to try to frame me into my brain savant being locked so he could have that option open for him, while at the same time he wants to beg me all day night long so that I would help him scam these girls into sleeping with him at the same time. So he's using both options for him, and the facts and evidences to clearly show that I've never met his sisters except for maybe 3 or 4 times, and that they're only doing this for their brother due to his extreme envy against me. So yeah, Junaid is now begging me, the same person Junaid is claiming in court whose brain savant should not get unlocked at any cost due to how much of a bad person I am, or supposedly, or how much of a bad person Junaid is claiming that I have the potential of becoming. And yet Junaid is begging that same person, me, all day and night long, whom he was claiming is a very bad person or has the potential for becoming a very bad person, supposedly. And yet Junaid is right now, as we speak, begging law enforcement to beg me all day day and night long to help him scam other people's vulnerable daughters living alone who found out about my brain savant only due to sex addiction. And by the way, while he's doing this, he's also begging his sisters to keep narrating in the trial, even though I've never met his sister except for maybe 3 or 4 times my entire life, and he's only doing that so that he could try to get his sisters to lock up my brain savant by making exaggerations against me in court, while at the same time begging me to help him scam these girls into sleeping with him using court chatter on my brain savant, getting to these girls, and then basically using these girls to be scammed into sleeping with him, while at the same time using his sisters to be making exaggerations against me so that my brain savant would get locked up. Trying both game plans at the same time is what Junaid has basically been doing right now, due to his sex addiction, obviously. Clearly showing the courts from facts and evidence is the fact that Junaid was only trying to desperately lock up my brain savant due to extreme envy of wanting other chances of being able to run after these girls who were running after me due to his sex addiction, after trying to exaggerate claims against me and then trying to desperately lock up my brain savant, followed by now desperately begging me, the same person whom he is telling the courts about that he is only trying to lock up my brain savant due to him thinking of me as being a bad person, supposedly, or having the potential of being a very bad person, supposedly, in the future. And yet the facts and evidences from right now, and I repeat, right now, shows Junaid from facts and evidences begging the same person, me, who he is claiming in court Junaid is only arguing against due to me being a very bad person, supposedly, or Junaid thinking of me as having the potential of becoming a very bad person, supposedly. And yet, right now, as we speak, Junaid is begging me all day, night long, through law enforcement to help him scam the girls, vulnerable girls, basically, living alone from my life, not his, who are vulnerable girls living without their parents who found out about my brain savant, basically from court chatter. Artificial intelligence experts are informing the judges, and then these girls finding out from court chatter that I am a triple savant, and Junaid wants to use that to his advantage to basically scam the girls first into sleeping with me, despite me not having any desire to get married with any of them, basically using up these girls and scamming them. And then Junaid wants me to pass them over to him. Like, autistic people have obsessions. Sex is not one of them. And literally, if you tell any autistic person that Junaid is pretending to be autistic or anything like that, they will take this personally. I'm not lying. This is like making fun of people with other problems in this world. Like, literally, I spent my entire half of my life, like, literally staring into a History Channel logo. And the same person whose last name is Anderson will tell you that I'm telling the truth on this. I was basically a loser in high school, and they literally called me the History Channel due to my obsession. Like, this is like making fun of people that are autistic. This is not funny at all. It's very wrong. And sex is not an obsession that we have. It's really messed up, really. Only to get me to scam these girls into sleeping with him after these vulnerable girls living alone without their parents have found out about my brain savant, girls whom only I knew from my life and whose contact info Junaid got from law enforcement, only to make up stories about being a CEO to them to try and scam them for his sex addiction. Basically, he works the same job as my sister, earns the same amount. The only difference is he literally loses his job every year, never gets along with people at his workplace, and yeah. And tries to get an early retirement every single year. By now, he's probably had like such a big credit card debt due to my sister is not gonna pay that. Anyways, and now that Junaid sees that these girls found out about the truth, Junaid is now begging me all day night long to help him scam these girls for his sex addiction, clearly showing from facts and evidences that Junaid was trying his best to desperately lock up my brain savant due to his sex addiction, and thinking that locking up my brain savant would mean that he could continue scamming the girls from my life who were coming after me after finding out about my brain savant for his sex addiction by using talking points from my childhood of one of law enforcement's own BFFs, like Uncle Joey saying something even remotely considered bad around me as a child when the war occurred when I was an 11-year-old child. So basically, that is the talking point, the only one that law enforcement can give him, that someone said something remotely considered bad around me as a child, but that someone would obviously be law enforcement's own BFFs like Uncle Joey. And we know this how forcefully the government had to work to stop the money fraud that was law enforcement were running till only about 2 months ago, when it was like the government basically found out about the wedding crime in 2023, and they kept telling law enforcement to fix it. Go investigate the wedding crime. Law enforcement never investigated, basically because their BFFs like Assad committed that wedding crime. Not only would Assad commit it, he would talk about it throughout the entire wedding. Not only that, what Bushra Akhtar was about to tell me in 2019, Assad would know about, even though I stopped her in the middle and I didn't hear the entire thing. Assad would know about it. He would not report it as an adult. He would not care about it. He would know about much more than that. And yet, now that after 2023, the government knew about the wedding crime due to the law enforcement wanting to frame me for it, despite people like Assad committing it and law enforcement covering over it. Every time the government would ask them, law enforcement would make fun of the government. Basically, law enforcement would put up a cartoon on my YouTube with the president saying, these people don't know what they're doing. And they would use that cartoon, President Trump saying that on YouTube, and they would keep putting it on my YouTube to basically make fun of the government, asking law enforcement to investigate the wedding crime. It would be a cartoon of the president keep on saying, these people don't know what they're doing, mainly because they would refuse to investigate the wedding crime. Those are the kinds of things the law enforcement were doing, and they told the state that they're not going to investigate the wedding crime, even though they confessed before trying to frame me for it in 2023 that they knew that I had nothing to do with it. They're not going to investigate it because, for one, Assad's going to go to jail, and two, they're going to go to the jail themselves because they covered over it. It's not law enforcement's job to be covering over crimes and then providing people involved in the crime, like, let's say, Uncle Joey, with a governor's protocol in November 2023 that would make a governor envious, literally. Like, if Uncle Joey were to call law enforcement and be like, my neighbor looks like she's really good looking, can you tell me more about her? Law enforcement will tell Uncle Joey. I can guarantee you that much. If a governor would call law enforcement and be like, my neighbor seems like a really good looking lady, can you tell me more about her? Law enforcement would be like, I'm sorry, Mr. Governor, why do you need this info? Yeah, so like there's no reason anyone's going to become a governor or run for office when things are this corrupt. And if you don't believe me, just look at how law enforcement was providing Uncle Joey with protocol in November 2023 at the funeral. It literally looked like they were providing it for a governor, providing him with top-notch intelligence on all my whereabouts, telling him when to text me to get the baby away from me, to try to force me to go to the funeral so that they could run their sex scheme ad with Uncle Joey, so that Uncle Joey could be the Uncle Joey, very nice Uncle Joey from Full House, and then they would run the sex scheme ad, and law enforcement would then show it to other women. This is why I knew on the night of July 10th, only 2 weeks ago, that the reason Junaid and Ibrahim, the greedy framer, were coming in front of my car cameras was because they wanted their sex scheme ad run by law enforcement. They did this for Uncle Joey for a very long time. So it's no secret that law enforcement would get into a lot of trouble if they investigated the wedding crime, because the money fraud was going on the entire year of 2023 while they were trying to frame me for it, along with sex schemes for Uncle Joey. So it's no secret. So before Junaid tries to continue with this talking point of his that law enforcement themselves cannot use against me about one of their own BFFs, like Uncle Joey, saying something even remotely considered bad around me as a child due to law enforcement having been running sex schemes and money fraud with everyone since 2001, while providing protocol and top-notch intelligence for people like Uncle Joey that would make a sitting governor envious. Junaid needs to first tell the courts about his own relationships with these people against whom he is claiming I should be blamed for merely sitting next to as a child, waiting for my mother to get off from work. And even after that was only after my single independent mother had already taken permission from law enforcement. So basically, I would only be around anyone in the family as a child. Due to forced and necessity of my mother leaving me behind with them. I do not socialize with people that much. Unlike people like Junaid, who were, before he even got married, he was able to like sweet talk everyone, talk to them, due to which these people ended up, everyone ended up giving him really nice gifts and everything, really expensive things on his wedding, clearly showing that Junaid was really able to sweet talk everyone, become BFFs with them, know them, everything about them, and now he's trying to use that one talking point that law enforcement has, claiming that one of the law enforcement's own BFFs, like Uncle Joey, might have said something bad around me as a child, to be used against me now. Now, Junaid might try to claim that, oh, I didn't know this person was giving me the gift. It doesn't matter. I didn't know myself when I was a child what anyone was saying around me. I was there due to force and necessity, only waiting for my mother to get off from work. Even that was after getting permission from law enforcement. And my mother's promise that she made to law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child fully fulfilled the moment I became even slightly mentally mature as a child. And the fact that my mother reiterated the fact that what she talked about when I was 11-year-old child to law enforcement on the night of February 15 at 8:30 p.m. clearly shows that she was basically scared that I would run out of the house alone if I was left at home alone, and they want me to be blamed for anything that anyone could have said around me as a child. One of law enforcement's own BFFs, like Uncle Joey, not blame law enforcement, even though they were running sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws since 2001, money fraud, which were literally stopped 2 months ago. And yeah, I haven't, and so law enforcement's been there in that setting from then till now. I was never in any settings after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity and the force and necessity of my single mother ended. Big difference between me and law enforcement. My mother did something for me as a child that law enforcement never did as adults. And law enforcement's been committing crimes, covering over them, all these sorts of things, running sex schemes, money fraud, and they want me to be blamed for their own BFF saying something around me as a child, despite seeing the fact that I have done nothing my entire life from gaining the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, except for working hard with my mother, whereas law enforcement's done nothing but run sex schemes and money fraud this entire time. And after 2023, when law enforcement tried to frame me for the wedding incident, after confessing amongst themselves that I had nothing to do with it, every time the government would tell law enforcement, like, how about that wedding crime? I understand you confess that Hassan has nothing to do with it, but how about you go ahead and investigate and prosecute that for us? Every time the government would ask law enforcement, I knew that they were being asked because they would make jokes about it, make fun of it, put cartoons of the president saying these people don't know what they're doing on my YouTube all day long to make jokes and make fun of it. Basically, they've done literally nothing except until they found out about my brain savant, at which time they became incredibly obsessed with it. Till now, I haven't gotten my 30-minute brain savant test, by the way, only due to their obsession and fear that if they let it be seen out in the open performing for 30 minutes, then the power over these girls that are already not with them would shift over to me, and I would use it to humiliate them. Well, I can show you outside on my robe right now how humiliated these people already are, due to which they ended up doing the June 24th brain savant test and overanalyzing it anyways. They had to gamble over it. That was the only option they had, and they knew that artificial intelligence was gonna say that my brain savant powers increase and that I'm a triple savant. Well, they had to gamble over it just in case artificial intelligence said otherwise, and then they'd use that and try to exaggerate that to take away my power over these girls, which I don't have any of. It's just they're losers, and all they do is run sex schemes and money fraud and make up stories about themselves, which is why no girl likes them. It has nothing to do with me. That's all in their head. So what ended up happening was they gambled over June 24th, overanalyzed June 24th, only for artificial intelligence to tell them that my brain savant is there. I'm a triple savant. My powers increase over time, and thereby not taking over my powers over these girls. But that's not why they're getting rejected. They know that's not why they're getting rejected. They're getting rejected because they run sex schemes, money fraud, don't think of other people's daughters as being their own, have no conscience, and their BFFs make up stories about themselves being CEOs when they work the same job as my sister, earn the same amount of money, or their other BFFs are like drug addicts. So yeah, that's why they're getting rejected. It has nothing to do with me. And even if, let's say June 24th from last month was overanalyzed and artificial intelligence didn't say that I was a triple savant whose powers increased over time, they would still get rejected by the girls. So yeah. So when I was a child, waiting for my mother to get off from work, and even after that, was only after my single independent mother had already taken permission from law enforcement for me to be there, and only until I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, as my mother said on February 15 at 8:30 p.m. So basically, that is what happened. Jeanette needs to explain to the courts how much gifts in terms of expensive. So basically, I was only there as a child due to force and necessity of a single mother, only after the mother had already spoken with law enforcement, and only until I had gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, whereas law enforcement's been there from that time till today, and it wasn't due to me being not in that setting anymore, due to me being tipped off or anything, since I'm not the one tipping other people off. It was law enforcement who tipped everyone off that they were watching everyone, not me, because law enforcement wanted to run sex schemes and money fraud with them, and we know this for a fact due to how aggressively law enforcement was running their money fraud with everyone till 2 months ago, and their sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws continuing till this very day today as we speak. So Jeanette needs to explain to the courts how much gifts in terms of expensive items that Jeanette has received from these BFFs of law enforcement after he was able to sweet talk these people before his wedding, and if it is only due to Jeanette receiving these gifts due to getting married and meeting with these people from before his wedding. The courts need to remember the fact that Jeanette was only able to receive these gifts from these people either at his wedding or elsewhere due to Jeanette being able to socialize with people, sweet talk them, and give people the feeling of a sense of belonging before Jeanette's wedding. So basically, the false testimony, we have 5. The 5th one just got caught right now recently with Ibrahim making another false testimony against me. So this child thing where someone might have said something bad around me as a child, despite them being people like Uncle Joey who were BFFs with law enforcement since 2001, since law enforcement wanted to run their sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws since 2001, or other people that law enforcement might have run money fraud with. Despite that, since this is the only talking point left, with 5 false testimonies fully caught against me as being completely false and fabricated, this is what I have to discuss and argue against now in court. Basically saying if Uncle Joey, I'm guilty of sitting next to Uncle Joey as a child, and Uncle Joey might have said something bad around me as a child, only until I gained this mental maturity as a child, then I was not aware of my surroundings as a child, since my mother had already spoken with law enforcement from before when I was an 11-year-old child. But since this is the only thing left to argue, this is what I have to argue. But then Jeanette also has to argue about why he's been receiving gifts from these people for his wedding elsewhere, because he received gifts from pretty much everyone. So yeah, people the feeling of a sense of belonging before Jeanette's wedding, something that I cannot do due to lacking social skills. So basically, he was able to socialize with people before his wedding, know them, meet them, greet them. They were able to like him, due to which they ended up giving him all these gifts and everything on his wedding. Something that I cannot do, and I never received any gifts from anyone ever in my life due to me not being able to basically socialize with people that well, sweet talk them. And it's true, I don't have any friends, I'm not gonna lie, and so no one ever gave me any gifts. So all these BFFs of law enforcement, like Uncle Joey, people that I haven't seen since I was a child, you know the story behind that. He was caught with an online chat. Forget meeting with them. I never even received, getting any gifts from anyone. I never even socialized with anyone. I haven't seen Uncle Joey since I was a child. So yeah, Jeanette, on the other hand, pretty much knows everyone, received gifts from everyone. He socializes with people, he knows them. So yeah, something that I cannot do due to lacking social skills, due to which I have never received any gifts from anyone. There's no record of me ever receiving any gifts from anyone, ever in my life. So I got my college degree, I got a lot of things done. I went through birthdays, like holidays, no one ever gave me any gifts. And the one time when I was being adult supervised by one of Junaid's own BFF gift givers was only due to the force and necessity of a single mother after she had already spoken with law enforcement and gotten permission for me to be there until I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. If I should be blamed, despite being too immature as a child to even be able to understand my surroundings, to even be able to be left at home alone, yet in life, like how my mother said on February 15 at 8:30 p.m. that she was scared that I would run out the door if she left me at home alone as a child, then Junaid should also be blamed for being BFFs with everyone, without any care in receiving gifts and appreciations from them, since I was not aware of my surroundings as a child. So children are not aware of their surroundings, okay? Until they gain the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, they're not aware of their surroundings. They repeat everything that people around them say. If I ever said anything bad, it would only be one of law enforcement's own BFFs, never my mother, who never uttered one word considered bad her entire life since she's been watched with me since I was an 11-year-old child. And we also know that she told the truth, that I'm telling the truth, that I was adult supervised while she was at work, and we know this due to the fact that she was never there present in the setting where I was adult supervised. I was not even mentally mature in life yet, waiting for my mother to get off from work, and only until my mother's force and necessity ended, just as she told law enforcement she had when I was an 11-year-old child. Just like how Junaid was unaware of whom he was BFFs with as an adult, receiving gifts and items of appreciation from them after Junaid became BFFs with them before his wedding. So basically, we have 5 false testimonies. 5th one was just caught right now. This is the only thing left to argue. He's just going to say, if someone said Uncle Joey said something bad around you when you were a child, you repeated it as a child, it was your fault. We have it from like decades ago. And now that is your fault as a child since you repeated it. Uncle Joey said it. Not Uncle Joey's fault since he's been running sex games with law enforcement. Not law enforcement's fault since law enforcement has been running sex games and money fraud with Uncle Joey and everyone else. It's your fault as a child being blamed decades later for what you repeated from what Uncle Joey said when you were a child. Since this is the only argument left, since 5 of their false testimonies have been already caught, this is the argument that obviously I have to make now. So the courts need to also take note of the fact that no one ever said anything even remotely considered bad around me after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. So after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, no longer needing adult supervision, my mother fulfilled her promise. I was never seen in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad could be ever said around me, only due to realizing that I was no longer a child and could not report on them for their words, and no longer a child being adult supervised by them. So basically, if I was seen in a setting after I was a child, in which any of law enforcement's BFFs were there, if they said anything even remotely considered bad around me, my mother just left me there as a child, that's one thing. They could say something bad around me when I'm being adult supervised by them at their house, even remotely considered bad around me. But after I gained a slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, if they were ever seen around me, ever, like how they were seen around Junaid and Asad and everyone else, if they were ever seen around me ever again after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, they never said anything bad around me, since they knew that as a child, I could not report anything. I was being adult supervised, even though there's nothing to report. It's not like what my dad, the greedy farmer, was doing in 2011, where he was recruiting people to join terror groups or anything like that caused anyone any harm. But just saying, if anything they were saying was reportable, if it was reportable, then the child cannot report it anyways. But obviously, no one was being harmed. No one was being recruited to join terror groups. Nothing of that sort of nature. But if anything was being said that could have been reported, I could not report it as a child anyways. So only do this. So after I again decided that mental maturity, they never said anything even remotely considered bad around me if I was seen anywhere around them, like how Junaid was seen around them, like how Asad was seen around them. If I was seen around them after getting the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, they would never say anything even remotely considered bad around me ever again, only due to realizing that I was no longer a child and could not report on them for their words, and no longer a child being adult supervised by them. So now I could report on them if what was even remotely considered bad. Not saying that there was anyone being harmed, like how my dad that the Greedy Framer was doing in 2011, recruiting people to join terror groups or things of that sort of nature being done. Nothing was being done to harm anyone when I was being adult supervised as a child. But if there was anything reportable, that anything was being said that was reportable, I could not report it as a child anyways. But if I, after gaining the status bit of mental maturity as a child, no longer adult supervised, since this is the only topic left to talk about, all 5 false testimonies caught, if I was ever seen around any of law enforcement's BFFs, that law enforcement would be seen around afterwards, till this very day. Assad would be seen around afterwards, till this very day. Junaid would be seen around afterwards, till this very day. If I was ever seen around them ever again, after gaining the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, they would never say anything bad around me ever again, because they realize themselves that as a child, I'm being adult supervised, being left there alone. As a child, I could not report anything, but afterwards, I could. And you have to take into consideration the fact that no one ever even remotely said anything bad around me after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, whereas Assad, they committed the wedding crime with. So that is a big difference between the two things. You have to take that into consideration. It clearly shows what level Assad is with everyone and how he is basically a criminal. And I can guarantee you he's a criminal. And the facts and evidences will show from the wedding incident that he is one. So when I was a child, merely waiting for my mother to get off from work, clearly proven from facts and evidences that the people who might have said anything even remotely considered bad around me as a child were fully aware of whom they were saying these things around, and until when they could say these things around me, until something that law enforcement needs to take into consideration, considering the fact that these BFFs of law enforcement were committing crimes like the wedding incident and saying things even remotely considered bad as adults around law enforcement, also being adults. So basically, the wedding crime was committed with Assad. Okay, and law enforcement has been BFFs with everyone from that time till today, and law enforcement knew about anything you remotely considered bad that they could have said, could not care less. Their money fraud only stopped 2 months ago. Their sex schemes with Uncle Joey is still ongoing, clearly showing from facts and evidences that after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, I was not even remotely present in a setting where anything you remotely considered bad could have been said around me. I was not tipped off, since I wasn't the one tipping others off. It was law enforcement. But at the same time, law enforcement themselves were with these people, all of their BFFs, committing sex schemes and money fraud. And at the same time, people like Assad were with these people committing crimes like the wedding crimes. And yet law enforcement sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws are still ongoing, and money fraud only ended around 2 months ago after the government had to force it to close. These people either in law enforcement are not comparing themselves to me as adults, since they know that I never received any gifts from anyone as an adult and was never even in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad could have been said around me as an adult, while law enforcement has been running all kinds of sex and money fraud, and Junaid has been indiscriminately receiving gifts from all of his BFFs as an adult, while Junaid might claim that he was unaware of anything he remotely considered bad that anyone might have said at any time in their life. The facts and evidences clearly show and prove that not only was I unaware as a child of my surroundings, but that my mother had already spoken with law enforcement and gotten permission for me to be there until I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, due to the force and necessity of a single mother would then finally end when I would gain the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. Plus, we know from facts and evidences also the fact that I'm telling the truth, that I was adult supervised as a child, and only till I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, since the facts and evidences show that the force and necessity of my single mother ended the moment I became even slightly mentally mature, never for me to be seen in any settings where anything remotely considered bad could have been said around me. We also know that this was not due to me being tipped off, since if I was tipped off, I would have tipped other people off, and who could have even remotely have said anything bad around me as a child. But it wasn't me, but it was law enforcement tipping them off, clearly showing from facts and evidence that I'm telling the truth about me being adult supervised only till I gained the slightest bit of maturity, also due to the fact that My mother was never seen in that setting ever while I was being adult supervised. So yeah, there you go. The facts and evidences clearly shows the truth on there, comparing me with after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, since people are looked at after they gain the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, no longer could run out of the house alone, like how my mother said on February 15 at 8:30 p.m. My history from that time, not even remotely being present in any settings for anything remotely being considered bad being said around me, compare that to law enforcement history from that time. As adults, being present in every single setting, committing sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws, money fraud that was still ongoing till this very moment, only stopped about 2 months ago, never investigated a single thing that their own BFFs like Assad committed, even though Assad was an adult as well, and he should have known better to commit the wedding fraud, which I know for a fact Assad committed. And so these people's history, law enforcement, Assad and Uncle Joey, and yeah, all of these people working together, and my history from the moment I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child being very different. I was never even remotely present in a setting where anything remotely considered bad could have been said around me, whereas law enforcement has been running sex schemes since 2001 with Uncle Joey's in-laws till this very day, today. Money fraud, which was only forcefully stopped around 2 months ago, and other people like Assad committing crimes like the wedding crime, and yet wanting me to be blamed for something that Uncle Joey might have said around me as a child, not blaming himself for what wedding crime that he committed, and other crimes like what Bushra Akhtar was about to tell me in 2019. He doesn't want to be blamed for that either, even though we know from facts and evidences that Assad and his family knew about everything, and a lot more than that. Law enforcement knew about everything, and yet law enforcement were running sex schemes for Uncle Joey only 4 years later in 2023 at the funeral in November 2023 for Uncle Joey, like as if he was a sitting governor. Even better than that, providing him with protocol, top-notch intelligence, even after knowing that they couldn't care less about anything at all. So yeah, there you go.